Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're doing JMA Friday today, so we're going to have a look at the weather for the coming month from the Japanese model. We haven't got the CFS V2 today, it hasn't updated from yesterday. I showed you the charts yesterday, there's no point going over them again. So just using the JMA for this week's update. Also have a look at the GFS and the E70. have a bit of a split between those two models for the coming week to 10 days. But I think the overall trend is probably going to be to turn it more unsettled as we get through into the end of March, possibly a bit colder then as well. So before I get on with the month ahead look ahead, just want to say about the ads. There's links to articles on all of the pages. Have a browse with widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks very much to Matt. It allows us to keep the website completely free for you, so you don't have to worry about subscriptions or anything like that. So there's also video ads on most pages, and if you have a watch of those, that will help to pay for the website as well. So all these things do help to keep the website going, and we don't have to worry about charging for updates and things like that at the website. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies from the JMA for the next month. These break down into weekly periods. Of course, the first week period will take us from the 11th through to the 18th of March, so the coming week actually. As you know, with these charts, blue extrapolates to low pressure, and the brighter colours, sort of yellow, orange, red, those are extrapolating to high pressure. So for the coming week, we've got quite a large ridge around the country. It could be a very settled week indeed, with hardly any measurable rain from many parts of the country over the next week. Trough of low pressure out in the Atlantic, and also away to the east and the southeast of Europe. It means that the jet stream goes something like that. It can be a very pleasant week coming up, I think. There could be some chilly conditions at times, particularly in the south and the east, as you bring in easterly winds, which will drag in cloud at times off the east coast. But overall, high pressure will keep it set there for the coming week, and we can expect quite a lot of dry weather coming up. Week 2 looks like this. This is the 18th through to the 25th of March. Big change takes place towards the end of the month. We get a trough of low pressure replacing that ridge. I'm not quite sure where the ridge goes. Some of it probably going out into the Atlantic. And it also got quite a deep trough setting up there over Scandinavia. So this is much more unsettled. It's also probably cooler as well, with the flow going rather like that. I think this trough over Scandinavia, particularly this one up here, could bring down some quite cool air from the north. And what may happen in the end is that it could all just combine. These two troughs could combine to produce one very large trough somewhere across central or northern parts of Europe. So I would think it's turning a good deal more unsettled there, and probably colder as well as we're heading in to the end of March. So we go through to week 3 and week 4 anomalies. This is from the 25th of March through to the 8th of April. So we go through the first week of next month with this one, and it's staying unsettled if the model is right. What happens is that the trough of low pressure backs out into the Atlantic. So we more or less bring the jet stream through rather like that. It's an Atlantic driven pattern. The end to March, start of April will be unsettled, probably traditional April showers really, and it's an Atlantic driven flow, so it's probably not as cool as that second week, which does look perhaps quite cold at times with that trough over Scandinavia. This is much more Atlantic driven, so I would think this one is likely to have temperatures close to normal, but there will be bands of rain or showers moving through. Let's have a look at the temperature and precipitation with all of this. So that's the Northern Hemisphere view, looking down at the UK from the North Pole. The North Pole is just here, UK of course just here. So we're looking down from the top of the Earth, if you like. This view is for the tropics and the mid-latitude. So where we are on this is up in this very far top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at the chart. We don't see the polar region on this view. That is up in this sort of area just here. So we'll start off with 500 millibar heights again. So for the coming week, of course, we know we've got that ridge right in across the country. It means that for the temperature forecast, very pleasant week coming up with temperatures generally a bit above average. That is dependent reliant, of course, on cloud. If we're dragging in a lot of cloud from the east, it's likely to be cooler than this, particularly down in the south and the east with an easy flow. But the potential, anyway, if the sun comes out over the coming week, the potential is there to have quite a mild and pleasant week. The rainfall anomaly, you'll not be surprised, under a ridge of high pressure is coming out drier than average as well. So a mild, dry, anticyclonic week coming up, very pleasant indeed. Week 2 has that big change taking place, of course, with the ridge going, and what happens is the trough of low pressure comes back almost right over top of the country. So you expect this one to be much more unsettled. You expect it to be cooler. Temperature anomalies are coming out about average, maybe even hinting at still being a little bit above. Really, so not desperately cold week being predicted by the JMA there, but it is much more unsettled with the rainfall anomaly, particularly for England and Wales, interestingly, generally going above average. So it does turn more unsettled as we go into the latter stages of March. And then week 3 and week 4, which is the end of March and the first week of April, shows low pressure in the Atlantic, got an Atlantic-driven flow coming through there, so you expect that one to be unsettled again. Indeed it is. The rainfall anomaly comes out significantly wetter than average across all parts of the country. And in terms of the temperature anomaly, that's coming out near normal. Probably makes sense really because it's Atlantic-driven, so I don't think it'll be overly cold. But it's certainly more unsettled with bands of rain and showers moving in across the country. As I say, unfortunately, we haven't got the CFS V2 to compare this morning. Just have a quick look at the GFS and the ECMWF. So this is how the GFS is seeing things for the start of next week. Got high pressure up over Scandinavia. Look at that, the ridge is there. We've got these easterly winds coming in. That's a really good easterly, actually. If that had happened in December or January, we would have really known about it. Of course, it's the middle of March, and there's not a great deal of cold over the continent because it's been a very mild winter, even across many parts of Europe. So, and the North Sea's generally quite mild as well. So this isn't going to be a particularly cold easterly, but it will be cool at times, particularly in the south and the east, I think. So although the JMA is predicting temperature anomalies to be above average, I think that's probably a bit overdone for this week, and especially if we're bringing in a lot of cloud across England and Wales with this easterly, it will probably be quite a cool, dank period, but not as cold as if this had happened right in the middle of winter, of course. Now, through the course of next week, what happens is that the high pressure just generally weakens, really, and we all turn very flabby. This is actually called a call here across the country, which means we're neither under high pressure or low pressure. You get any kind of weather in a call. But I would suspect what happens next week is that we'll gradually turn a little bit more showery, a few showery bursts developing, but again, not desperately wet by any means. A lot of places will probably have a completely dry week through the course of next week. We get through to the weekend of the 19th, 20th of March, and the pattern starts to change then. This is when the JMA is predicting it turns more unsettled as well. What the GFS wants to do is bring up this southerly flow, so that will be quite mild, but notice this area of low pressure developing in the Atlantic. That will start to bring bands of rain in across the country, and by day 10, which is Monday the 21st of March, we're properly breaking down into an Atlantic driven flow again. So this high pressure in the middle part of March looks like it's going to break as we get through into the second half of the month, particularly the final week to 10 days, and probably turn it more unsettled. However, the ECMWF is not really in agreement with that, so here's a high pressure dominating for the start of next week with the easy flow. Not as much of an easterly on this run of the ECMWF, but nevertheless it's high pressure in control, sitting generally to the north and the northeast, with the flow generally from an easterly direction. That takes us into the middle part of next week as well. High pressure just sticks around then as we go through to the end of next week. So whereas the GFS by this point, Friday 18th, is starting to turn everything rather flabby, it's starting to generate little areas of low pressure which could bring showers, the ECM just keeps this high pressure anchored firmly over top of the country. So this will be completely dry through next week and into the weekend of the 19th, 20th of March. That high pressure just remains there in situ over the country. That chart, day 10, is quite interesting because the signs are that high pressure beginning to pull out to the west or the northwest perhaps, and notice this trough of low pressure. I'll change the colour. Notice this trough of low pressure over Scandinavia. That could all be starting to set up the idea that high pressure is retrogressing towards Greenland, with the trough of low pressure sinking into Scandinavia, and that could be the start of opening the doors to the north. Notice low pressure also developing down to the south and the west, so the North Atlantic oscillation beginning to go negative there. That sort of chart is one of the charts that can be a precursor situation, if you like, to something cold northerly winds. But it's 10 days away, and it isn't in agreement with the GFS. The GFS by that point is re-establishing those westerly winds. So, well, we've got a lot of settled weather coming up for the coming month, but for the coming week. But as far as the next month is concerned with the JMA, I think the overall idea is that we have this extended period of drier weather for the middle part of March, then the final week to 10 days and into the start of April, likely to turn significantly more unsettled. Now, whether this is mild unsettled or whether this is cold unsettled, I'm not terribly certain about what the temperatures will be doing, but I do think as we go further towards the end of March and inside of April, expect it to turn more unsettled. So that's how it's looking this morning. Of course, the end of March is coinciding with Easter. We'll start the Easter updates at Gadsworthy's this weekend, actually, probably on Sunday afternoon. We'll do the first first update then for the whole of the Easter bank holiday weekend. But that's how it's looking this morning. And just to say that this later on this afternoon, this evening, I'll have a verification for the winter forecast. We'll see how we did with the winter 2015-2016 forecast, and then that will close the book fully on the winter just gone. So if you want to know how we did in terms of forecast, come back for that this evening. Tomorrow it's weekend forecast, and that's all for now. Thanks for watching.